Okay, so we're trying again with a generic live stream setting. I apologize. I hope people are able to find this. We will try and carry on as if it's working and send people the link later if they weren't able to find their way in. Okay. Agaya and Ubuntu to you. For those who are watching, thank you for joining. And my apologies for anyone who had challenges finding their way in. This is not quite working the way it was intended and the way it worked the last two times, but we persevere. So, as you are no doubt aware, these are still an experiment in progress, and I am learning my way through this and making it up as I go along. If you are someone who has any expertise in YouTube live streaming and wants to help out, please get in touch because I could use some help. I really could. But this is our Agaya and Ubuntu connection, the eco-spiritual news from a Novasutras perspective. And what we're going to offer is a little look at some upcoming events, little talk about current global news and some commentary on that, some suggested actions for the week. In Novasutras, we really make an effort to ground our spirituality in action on behalf of the earth. So we'll talk about a few actions that you might take or get involved in. I'll talk a little bit about eco-spiritual ideas and practices within Novasutras, and then offer a brief guided meditation, which is one of our primary practices. After that, I will talk a little bit about local events for people in the Santa Cruz and San Francisco Bay Area. And it doesn't look like this live stream enabled chat. I apologize, but do leave your comments. And I will try to get to those later. And again, if you have suggestions for items that you'd like to be covered in future session of these live streams, please let me know in the comments. If you have events that you'd like to be listed on the Novasutras calendar and talked about here, let me know about those in the comments. And again, any suggestions you can offer of ways to do this better, let me know about that as well. I really would appreciate that because I am really just learning. So again, to welcome new viewers, Novasutras is about enacting change through eco-spiritual community. So we're coming together to reawaken our deep connection with the living world, to reclaim our joy, honor our pain, to grow trusted relationships, and to take meaningful action in service to all life. People tend to think about activism as somehow always adversarial, but we take the much broader perspective that actions that you are taking to support a thriving future are all sacred activism. It's coming from a place of deep love for the living world. The more effective and meaningful it can be, the better. And of course, we do need activists. We need people engaged in what Joanna Macy and folks involved with the work that Reconnect call holding actions, doing those things that try to stop the harm, try to minimize the harm for the future by, in our case right now, largely about stopping climate destruction. So we'll talk a little bit about some of those actions as we move forward. Here are terms Agaya and Ubuntu. These are ways of expressing our love and wonder and interconnection with the living world. And you can find out more about that if you watch the recording from this first session, watch our meditations that introduce Agaya and Ubuntu, other places. And of course, you can go to the website to read more about them. All right. So I wanted to start this week actually talking about events and going through the calendar. Our big event coming up on Monday is our celebration of the cross quarter. Again, some people will have celebrated a couple of days ago at the first of the month, but in Novasutras we use the astronomical timing, so the timing when the sun is directly overhead at 16 degrees, 20 minutes latitude, the midpoint between the equator and the tropic line. And that happens on Monday. So we will have our celebration through that midpoint. That's going to be about a 90-minute session on Insight Timer. It will include some interaction where people are encouraged to offer spicy blessings using the chat feature on Insight Timer to share the suggestions for people to whom we can offer energy for change by wishing that they abide in Agaya and Ubuntu. It's a great way to get to know Novasutras a little better. So you can check that out either with the Insight Timer app on a mobile device or on your laptop or desktop computer just by following the links to the Insight Timer page. I want to actually go to our main calendar, and there's a link for it here. I'm on the Novasutras events page now. And I'll go to the weekly view as soon as it loads. And I had this preloaded, but again, nothing is working the way I thought it would today. So there's our monthly view, but you can also do this weekly view. And first of all, just going back a little bit, some things that I didn't get to talk about in the last session that have happened since then. The International Day of Friendship, when the UN observes the importance of friendship in the world, was on July 30th. And Earth Overshoot Day this year happened on August 2nd. Earth Overshoot Day, this is a little bit of a news item. This is the day when globally as a species, as an intertwined economy, we have used up the Earth's resources and carrying capacity. We've used up our annual budget. And obviously, August is way before the end of the year. So between January 1st and August 2nd, we used up what should have been all of the resources that we use, all of the pollution that we emit for a whole year in order to give the Earth time to recover. And from here on out, we are in overshoot. We are demanding capacities from the Earth that the Earth cannot handle. So while worrying about personal carbon footprints and things like that are not particularly useful. Thinking about where we are as a species and what the Earth's actual capacity to recover and regenerate is very important. So the fact that we are in 2023 probably using about 1.75 or 1.75 times what the Earth can handle tells us that we are in some serious trouble. And there are all kinds of results from that. I also want to point out, I did mention it in our last live stream, but Deep Transformation Network has their monthly sessions on the first Tuesday of the month. And this last one was a conversation about the Wellbeing Economics Alliance. You can actually find a recording of that through Deep Transformation Network. I encourage you to check that out. I'll try to remember and put that link in the description later on. So carrying on, what's coming up next week? Sunday, August 6th is Hiroshima Day. So this marks the day when atomic bombs were dropped by the US on the city of Hiroshima. And it is now remembered as a day of action for peace and nuclear disarmament. There are various remembrances and events happening all around the world. So I encourage you to see if there's something happening locally that you might want to get involved in on Sunday, August 6th. Monday the 7th is our cross-quarter event, as I was mentioning, and People versus Fossil Fuels has their Build Back Fossil-Free conversations. In Novasutras, we plan a lot of our events either, as I described, for the astronomical position of the sun, for the cross quarters, the equinoxes, and the solstices, but also around the moon phases. Well, it turns out our timing for the cross quarter is pretty close to the last quarter moon phase and the last quarter moon phase, at least for me locally. These are Pacific time on the west coast of North America. So that's 3:30 in the morning for me. I'm not going to offer a meditation at the moment of the last quarter, third quarter moon. So instead, I will be including that in our cross quarter celebration on Monday. On Tuesday, there's a gathering on Deep Transformation Network called the Listening Space. I'm not positive that this is happening, but usually these will, and they are going to be on pause or potentially on pause if hosts aren't found. On Wednesday, August 9th, that is International Day for the World's Indigenous People. So there may be various celebrations related to that. I encourage you to find out more about that and what might be going on with local Indigenous groups in your area in recognition of that International UN-declared days. We like those. Also on Wednesday the 9th, because it is the second Wednesday of the month at 11 o'clock Pacific time, again, we always have these meditation for regeneration sessions. Those are offered through the Deep Transformation Network, but I believe there is also a direct Zoom link on the Novasutras events page. Then coming up the following Saturday, the 12th, is the start of the Perseids meteor showers, one of the better meteor showers of the year. So if you have dark skies, you can get out and watch that. The fact that it will be deep into the waning moon means that you should have no moonlight to interfere with watching this meteor shower. That's peaking on probably Saturday and Sunday. Saturday the 12th, also World Elephant Day. And then coming up, there's a group called the Online Earth Holder Sangha that has a Zoom meeting that you can attend. And again, you can find more information about that just by going to our calendar. The Build Back Fossil Free group. And then I'll be offering on our Insight Timer group. So you have to join the Insight Timer circle or group for Novasutras. And then people who are in that group can join us to simultaneously listen to a recording of a short nature reconnection guided meditation as a way just for us to kind of come together and feel that connection of meditating together. We'll be offering our new moon meditation. Again, the actual timing of it is middle of the night for me. So instead, I'm doing it in what for me is going to be late afternoon that day, just to vary my timings on things somewhat. So that will be on Insight Timer. And once again, if you follow the link on a computer or a laptop, that will take you to a webpage where you can view and listen and participate that way. So that is Wednesday the 16th. Thursday the 17th, there's another Deep Transformation Network group coming together to develop the practices we need to transform to an ecological civilization. That happens, I think it's every other Thursday. And then at noon via Insight Timer is a loving kindness global meditation. I will be checking and probably updating the links for that, but that is the usual timing is at 1900 UTC, which is in the daylight saving time at 12 noon Pacific. And this is a global synchronous meditation with people from all over the world, spending some time meditating on loving kindness together. The following Saturday, we have International Orangutan Day, which coincides with World Honeybee Day. And probably sometime in this week, between the 15th and the 18th, I will offer another live stream like this, but it's not a for sure thing. So if I don't, just to let you know, again, there's the listening space, which is just tentatively scheduled for August 22nd. And somehow I have a new moon meditation. This would be a waxing moon meditation, tentatively scheduled for August 24th. And we'll find out more about that. If you're in the Santa Cruz area, the board of directors meeting is August 25th. All right, so that covers our events. But let's get into some other news. So one of the things that many of you are experiencing and aware of just how extreme the weather has been in July. And Eric Holthaus, climate scientist, offers this chart showing global surface air temperatures in July and just how extremely high it is. And the fact that this is the first July on record that the average for the month is more than 1.5 degrees centigrade above the pre-industrial average, the average of temperatures from 1850 to 1900. So that 1.5 degrees C threshold has been broken. It's not the first time it's been broken, as Leon Simons shows us in this graph, that we have globally exceeded 1.5 C a couple of times. But this is the first time that it happened in July. Not sure what that means precisely, but it doesn't seem like good news. Now, it is very likely that temperatures are going to continue to fluctuate. And so we are going to have these years that are possibly even below the average, certainly below 1.5 anomaly. But the trend continues to go upward. And the fact that we had this extreme probably relates in part to the presence of El Nino patterns in the Pacific, but also, of course, to the extreme concentrations of carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases that we're dealing with right now. Also from the site formerly known as Twitter, Ada Greenberry shared this article that just has an astonishingly ridiculous claim. Palm oil plantations absorb more carbon than tropical forests. This, of course, was a claim by some palm oil industry lobbyists. And as Ada describes it, experts dismiss this claim as goofy and criminally misleading. And in fact, when we look at a paper published in really the most prestigious scientific journal on the planet, Nature, made it very clear that converting healthy, intact rainforests in Sumatra, where a lot of this is happening, to oil palm monoculture plantations, that leads to highest carbon losses. Basically, because of both the soil and the cutting down and burning of the biomass of the forest itself, you are losing so much carbon. In fact, as they describe it, up to 61% of the carbon stored in the undisturbed ecosystem is lost when you convert undisturbed, healthy ecosystems to plantation systems. 61% of the carbon is lost. So even though something like a plantation can take in some carbon because of the rapid growth, it's not going to make up for how effective living intact forests are at removing and holding carbon, not only in the biomass, in all of the living stuff that continues to breathe and die back and shed some of its carbon, but also living forests are much better at maintaining carbon in the soil where it doesn't go back up into the atmosphere. And this is especially true in the peat swamps in Southeast Asia, especially on Sumatra and Borneo in Indonesia. A lot of times when they do slash and burn agriculture there, which is the most typical way to clear land for plantations, the peat catches fire. Peat is organic material that has been building up for decades or sometimes centuries, kind of, very, very slowly on its way to becoming coal. And lots of people in lots of places actually would harvest peat soils as fuel for fires because it's such a high concentration of carbon, and it is flammable. Forest usually keeps it so moist that there's very little risk of it burning. But if you cut the forest down and things start to dry out, the peat can catch fire. And that's what has made some of the wildfires in Southeast Asia so toxic and burn for so long, is that peat, that carbon that's been trapped for decades or centuries, is burning and being released into the atmosphere. And that made me want to transition right into what we can do about this. What we can do about this. So there are a couple of actions I'm going to suggest this week. And again, that's going to be a feature of these live streams, at least, is just sharing a couple of, one or two simple actions that you might be able to take. Sometimes it involves donating money. Sometimes it involves signing a petition or sending a letter. And sometimes there will be calls to get out on the street and go do things. This live stream, one of the things that I am encouraging, and let me get this queued up, is that people sign a change.org petition that is encouraging the Biden administration to stop offshore drilling leases. This petition was started by the Protect All Our Coasts Coalition, and it needs more signatures. They're just barely getting started on it. So I will put that link in the description. But I really encourage you to find this petition and sign on to it. These offshore leases are enabling an expansion of fossil fuel extraction right at the time when we should be reducing how much fossil fuel we're taking out and burning. It's completely incompatible with our goals for limiting global warming emissions and the climate chaos that we've been experiencing. And of course, putting these rigs offshore puts marine wildlife at tremendous risk. So I think this is a petition worth finding out about and worth signing. If you want to step it up a little bit more and you are able to are able to actually make regular donations to things, I want to tell you about a way to help protect that Southeast Asian rainforest habitat that we were just talking about. And this is the Orangutan Project, which is part of Wildlife Conservation International. And they have an ecosystem, Bukit Tiga Puluh, that means 13 hills, if I'm remembering my Bahasa Indonesia correctly, that you can actually buy hectares of plot. You can actually, you're not purchasing the land, but you are committing a monthly donation to help keep that plot defended from illegal logging and habitat loss. I kind of like that they have a tool set up where you actually can choose your plots that you're helping out with. And you can see here that Novasutras is actively helping to protect 4 hectares of this forest. Now, 4 hectares is $14 a month. If that's too much for you, then might I suggest that instead you offer a monthly support to Novasutras to help us with the 4 hectares that we're protecting. And you can do that through our Patreon page. So if you become a monthly supporter of Novasutras at a lower level, then that is helping to put in our funds for 4 hectares for $14 a month. If in the next couple of weeks we get another $14 worth of monthly commitments, then I'll step that up and we'll start protecting 8 hectares a month. So again, if you've got the means to put out $14 a month to protect a plot of land on your own, please do. But if you don't, and you're one of our new Patreon subscribers, and we get up to another, if we get up to $14 a month of commitment from Patreon subscribers for as little as $1 a month, then we will put that into the Novasutras protection of rainforest hectares. So I hope that you will consider doing that. So those are our actions for this month. Again, if you have news that you want me to talk about, if you have calendar items or actions that that you think people should find out about, let us know in the comments or go on to the Novasutras website and send me an email with the contact form there. So, last week we talked a little bit about octal celebrations and the practices that we include, and the fact that we're doing these to help remind people, to help us think about and stay in that mindset of truly being members of a shared living planet. That part of why we come together at these times is that they remind us to think about the whole earth as one interconnected system and to take this big global perspective. And that ties in with what's been called the overview effect. So last month I did a blog post about this. The overview effect is this phenomenon that was first reported by some of the Apollo astronauts and others who have traveled far enough away from the Earth to be able to look back at it. Even people in low Earth orbit on the International Space Station note that we can't help but be absolutely fascinated, riveted by the views of the Earth from space. And that seeing it in that way, seeing that there are no borders, seeing how small and fragile and special our planet is at that scale, it changes you. Now, I don't think it's a good idea to be sending lots and lots of people into space right now, because that is an incredible investment of fuel and materials. But I do think there is value in maintaining this unbelievable capacity that we have as humans right now, technologically, to be able to get views from space and all of the things that that gives us, with a much better understanding of our climate system and what's going on with it, the ability to detect things like what happened with the ozone degradation, and realize that we had to address that as a global species, and that we had to come together to solve these problems that happen at global scales. Climate change right now is, obviously destabilizing so much of the planet. And without this global view, the actions that one place takes might make things worse in other places. We need to get better at this, and we need to really take a global perspective whenever we can. It's the same thing with Earth Overshoot Day, really understanding that this world is limited, that there isn't much habitable. And when we overtax it, we are putting the future in jeopardy. So again, joining us for these astronomically timed gatherings helps a little bit to remind us and to get into that mindset of thinking about the Earth in its entirety. And changing the mindset is really a big piece of what Novasutras is all about. That's why the idea of coming together in eco-spiritual community is so important to us. So I hope that you'll take some time and learn a little bit more about that. And I'll put some links for you in the description on that one as well. So with that, and taking this global view, I'm going to invite us to move into some meditation. So inviting that global view, and just taking a few deep breaths. When you see images of the Earth from space, what are the things that you notice? When you think of this beautiful, fragile oasis against the darkness of space, how do you feel? There are so many different feelings that might emerge. Wonder at the sublime beauty, this beautiful orb with swirling clouds of white, with vast swaths of living green. With blue ocean all around. This thin layer of atmosphere, protecting and sheltering all the life within it. This wondrous home. And you hold the whole earth in your heart. And you feel the way that we are all connected. The way that we are part of cycles of air and water, carbon and phosphorus, nitrogen, calcium. All of these materials moving in and out and through us, moving in and out and through every other living thing on this planet. When you breathe in, you might be breathing in molecules of oxygen that were released by seagrasses in the Atlantic Ocean, by rainforests in Indonesia, by the grasslands of African savannas, by the spruce and fir trees, Scandinavia, every breath connects us with the green things that grow all around this earth. We participate in the Earth's atmosphere, welcoming it into our lungs, into our bodies as we inhale, and releasing it back out as we exhale. Receiving the gifts from the photosynthesizers that we need when we inhale. And when we exhale, offering back the gifts of the carbon that we're no longer using. That this carbon that was part of our food and then part of our bodies can now go back to those photosynthesizers, to the teeming microscopic phytoplankton in the oceans, to the towering redwoods, to the beautiful alpine meadows, to the ferns and orchids and lianas hanging from a tree in the Amazon. That carbon might then nurture other living beings. The fish in the coral reefs, the sheep on the Anatolian plateau, the mountain gorillas on the Virunga volcanoes, we share this earth. We share our lives with beings that we may never encounter in person. But we are woven together in reciprocity by this beautiful earth system that unites us. When we hold a vision of that earth system healing and regenerating, of that earth system recovering and beginning to thrive again, it can help us to heal ourselves. It can help us to thrive and find the power and resilience that we need to do the work that the earth is so urgently calling us to do. So I invite you to take in another deep breath and savor that strength and possibility that the world is offering you. In Braiding Sweetgrass, Robin Wall Kimmerer reminds us that action on behalf of life transforms. Because the relationship between self and the world is reciprocal, it is not a question of first getting enlightened or saved and then acting. As we work to heal the earth heals us. So feel that possibility of healing, that possibility of gaining more power and strength, and let it move through you all the way out to the tips of your fingers and toes. Start to bring a little motion into those toes and fingers, into those hands and feet, ankles and wrists. arms and legs, hips, shoulders, spine, neck, and bring your focus back up to rest near your eyes. And if they've been closed, gently open them and look around at the space you're in for reminders of the earth's beauty and the way that the earth is healing you. Thank you for all that you do working to heal the earth. So, a reminder that if you want to learn more about Novasutras, you can check out our website. You can join our conversation space on the Deep Transformation Network or our conversation space on Insight Timer, or both, of course. On the website, of course, you can also read our blog articles, learn more about upcoming events, and find some guided meditation recordings. We are on all of the usual and some of the less usual social media. So please do look for @Novasutras if you use any of these social media tools. And thank you so much for joining us today for this live stream. Thank you for watching it afterward. And thank you for taking the time to learn more about the ways that our commitment to Earth can be manifest. Wishing you all the best. Ubuntu and Agaya to you.